Going on YouTube, Cloverbuzz here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be recapping the Latin American International Championships that took place over this past weekend, and pretty much wrapped up a few hours ago. And thankfully, we have all the data that we need to be able to look at the tour as a whole and just see some trends, see some interesting results from certain archetypes, as well as a few niche Pokemon that had a pretty big impact in the tour altogether, especially with the second place team from Thiago, aka Volvo Max Ben, with his Regieleki, which we'll talk about in a second, of course, as well as the winning team from Mr. Marco Fierro, aka Marco Silva, taking first place and a second international championship there. Now, before we talk about any of the teams, of course, what we like to do is take a look at the day 1 and day 2 usage and just make some comparisons and just make some inferences based on where the tournament was heading and what we can expect moving forward as we have a couple more regionals coming in, right? So let's take a look at the day 1 and day 2 usage. Okay, so this is day 1 usage, and from here you can pretty much see the top 3 has not really changed all that much. You got Fluttermane and Iron Hands at 1 and 2, jockeying back and forth every single day since regulationE, and then you have Landorus, of course, also fighting for that top 3 spot. These are 3 mainstays. And then from there, you have pretty much the hyper-aggressive combinations, the hyper-aggressive Tailwind cores of Urshifu, Tornadus, and then from there, you have the trailers with the Fire, Water, Grass core with Arcanine, Rillaboom, and Heatran. And then, lo and behold, Amoonguss has yet again entered the top 12 uses, right? We called this, okay? We said this months ago, all right? That even though Amoonguss had dropped off considerably at the start of regulationE because of Ogerpon usage, that in some shape or form, Amoonguss was going to climb right back into the top usage within the VGC meta, right? It's too good, right? Amoonguss has been a mainstay in the competitive meta for a very, very long time, and that is not going away at all, right? Even though it did see that dip in usage, right? Now all of a sudden it's climbing back to prominence, to where it belongs, and it makes sense, right? Just again, Spore is broken. Okay, I just want to repeat that. Like, Spore is broken. Redirection with the bulky Pokemon like Amoonguss is also broken. Okay, and then from there, the fact that you can heal your allies is also very much broken, right? And from there, as long as you know how to pilot and utilize your Amoonguss and take advantage of the fact that you can pivot it in and out and heal it because of its regenerator, Amoonguss is an excellent partner. It can help you set up, right? We're in a very heavy setup meta, right? Swords Dance, Tailwind stuff, Nasty Plot. Okay, these are all things that you need redirection support to be able to set up successfully, and Amoonguss does that maybe just a little bit better than the Ogerpon, technically, right? Because all the Ogerpons, they all have Follow Me, but are they as bulky as the Amoonguss? That remains to be seen. I think Amoonguss serves that job a little bit better, but then at the same time, as you keep going down the list, there is the Ogerpon, right? But it's the Wellspring Ogerpon, right? You almost don't really see the Fire one at the moment because it has been replaced. Not really replaced, but if you needed a Fire option, the best options right now is the Hisuian-Arcanine and Heatran. By the way, Hisuian-Arcanine, undefeated, 5 regional first place, all right, 5 official first place event winners, right, from the Hisuian-Arcanine. This thing is too good, all right? Who else got 5 rings? Okay, think about the NBA. Stephen Curry's got 5 rings. Arcanine also 5 rings. Okay, so Arcanine is a true champion. Okay, and I see no reason why you don't use this thing, right? And even Heatran has been an OG legend for a very, very long time as well. But anyway, the Ogerpon Wellspring, very, very good defensive Pokemon as well. And sometimes you can even forego the Follow Me for Swords Dance, right? So that's always really, really nice. And then, of course, Roaring Moon here, entering the top 12. I like this thing. Roaring Moon was a hot, popular pick within this LAIC, and that's good to see because, again, consider the Dragon typing great into the Ogerpons, of course, and then the Dark typing great into Psyspam. So it just makes sense, right? Roaring Moon finally cracking that top 12. Well deserved for sure. Okay, and then from here, you got Chien-Pao here, Rillaboom stuff like we said. Now if we go into day 2, take a look at this. All right, the most interesting thing here is actually no more Ogerpons, right? Not even a Wellspring Ogerpon is in the top 12. So both the Wellspring and the Heart Flame have dropped off the top usage, right? That doesn't mean they're bad, of course. It does not mean they're bad. They're still within your top 15, top 20, okay? But as far as the top 12, not for this particular tour, okay? You still got Fluttermane and Iron Hands at 1 and 2, and then Urshifu Rapid Strike taking over the Landorus third place is also interesting. But again, Landorus is still like very, very strong. Now Amoonguss is cracking in the top 6. So now you went from the bottom half of the top 12 to now, you know, in the top 6. So it just shows you that Amoonguss is making its way back into relevancy. Not that it ever left, of course, okay? But now all of a sudden, people are starting to realize, hey man, this thing was actually like really, really good. I need this, okay? Especially into like Trick Room games, very, very good. And just a very, very good solid support Pokemon altogether. I can't name too many more better support Pokemons than Amoonguss. Now also enter Goldengo. Like Terra Dragon Goldengo has been on the rise, you know, within the past month, of course, right? You know, it's just so good into a lot of these Tailwind teams, you know, even on Balance teams, it's also very, very good. And, you know, and Iron Hands Amoonguss Goldengo is one of your best defensive cores as well as offensive, technically, right? It's one of your best Balance staples, right? Iron Hands, Goldengo, Amoonguss, slap on 3 other things. It don't matter. You got 3 of the best on your team, okay? So I really do like that. And then from here, you know, you still got Rillaboom, Arcanine, and then the Roaring Moon. Interesting to see that the Arcanine, oh no, it's actually more or less the same idea, right? Same spot. But that was like the more interesting thing. And then Chien-Pao still, you know, within the top 12, of course, getting a little bit of drop in usage. That's actually a big drop. You know, you went from 22%-ish down to like about 14, so that was interesting. But still a strong Pokemon to use. Again, like Chien-Pao, Urshifu, Rillaboom, Arcanine. This is like a very, very strong, you know, priority HO combination. All right, Tornadus probably comes there, even like Fluttermane, for example. But from here, you know, Chien-Pao just makes sense on these Tornadus teams. And, you know, the theme of the competitive meta right now is like you got a lot of Tornadus Hyper Offensive teams, right? And then from there, you got the defensive bulky stuff, okay? Then the occasional Psyspam, the Dondozos, the Roaring Moons, the Baxcalibur, Ninetales. All right, we'll talk about all those in a second. But as far as like usage, you know, a lot of these pieces, like for example, Urshifu, Rillaboom, Arcanine, Chien-Pao, Tornadus, this is all like one kind of team already. And then you just have like Goldengo, Iron Hands, Amoonguss, okay, plus something like Landorus, Roaring Moon, and then Heatran, right? That's your other kind of team, right? You could make at least, you know, just from looking at this top 12, you can make at least 4 or 5 different kinds of teams that still fit within each other's archetypes, just like more or less plugging in some pieces. But this is what we're talking about here. So yeah, I just wanted to point some of the Pokemon out here, again, especially the Amoonguss and the Goldengo. But yeah, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at some of the top teams and the archetypes that did relatively well in this LAIC. So let's take a look at the first and second place teams. All right, let's take a look at Marco's team first, right? The winning team. By the way, when are we gonna get this Hisuian-Arcanine JPEG image going, right? Come on, Shodan, help me out here. But anyway, so it's like half Tailwind and half Balance, right? So you see the Amoonguss Iron Hands Goldengo idea, right? You know, this is a very, very slappable defensive core, right? Set up with Nasty Plot, and then Amoonguss and Iron Hands give you redirection and fake out pressure. It gives you something to play with in the Trick Room games. And then from here, on the other side, you have the hyper offensive Tailwind stuff. You have Tornadus, Arcanine, Urshifu. And sometimes mixing, you know, 2 different modes can be a little bit tricky, but it still like kind of makes sense in a way, okay? Because you still have good balance. And I like to call this like Tailwind Balance offense, right? I kind of like to call it like that. So Terra Water, Iron Hands is good. Amoonguss, Terra Water again. And then this is Rain Dance, Tornadus, of course. So your Urshifu is going to be hitting extra hard. All right, you know, especially with the Mystic Water. And then the Hisuian-Arcanine is a Choice Band set with Terra Fairy. No Terra Blast Terra Fairy though. It is just straight up Head Smash. And then of course the Terra Dragon Goldengo. So it looks like it's, you know, you have half the team very, very standard, and the other half is also relatively standard. And now you just combine the 2 pieces, and now you have this kind of team, right? So shout outs to Marco for, again, you know, taking first place here. And you know, a lot of these pieces are very much mainstays. So I like this. I like it a lot. Sometimes you see Fluttermane, sometimes you see Rillaboom on teams like this, but Marco decided to go with Goldengo, Amoonguss on teams like this, and it just makes sense overall. So shout outs to him. Okay, now what we'll take a look is let's look at the second place team. Okay, so this is Volvo Max Ben's team, and again, I kind of, before even like spotlighting the Regieleki, I kind of want to look at the rest of the team first, right? Again, it's another Tornadus team here, but you do have fluttermane and you have Chien. By the way, this is Sash fluttermane, okay, which is something that isn't as common as some of the bulkier stuff, or maybe it still is. I just don't know the EV spreads fully, but and then you have Life Orb Chien, so no choice specs needed here, okay. And then from here you have Indeedee, okay, along with Ogerpon Wellspring, okay, and it's a Swords Dance Ogerpon. So we actually have that as well. We like this idea, okay, so you don't need redirection. You're just gonna go hard here with the Swords Dance setup, and we have a team like this, which I'll show later on, but I kind of want to start with this, okay, before you even talk about the Regieleki, just so like the team building process makes sense. So you have Tornadus here, and then you have the fluttermane and the Chien. So this is a very, very good starting point for, again, one kind of variation of the Tailwind offense team, right? And now what you have here is Rain Dance, which is actually interesting, right? Because normally you would have something like Sunny Day, you know, to enable the fluttermane and the Chien. So the fact that this is Rain Dance is also pretty interesting, but it still makes sense because you have the Ogerpon Wellspring, okay, in that matter. But now from here, look, you got a strong special attack mode, okay, but now the problem becomes something like Landorus and some other priority mons, like, you know, maybe even like Chien-Pao or like Choice Scarf, Urshifu, okay, but ideally the Choice Scarf Landorus becomes a problem, right? A little bit. But now all you have to do is just add something like Regieleki here, and now Regieleki gets a little bit more interesting, right? Because now what you can do is outspeed the Urshifu and the Landorus with your Regieleki, right? Because it's faster than all of those things, right? And I believe he said this in his interview. But now, if you think back to Regieleki, right? What was the problem with trying to use Regieleki in Scarlet and Violet? A lot of the priority stuff, and then it just kind of one-shotted, right? So if you just think about like Chien-Pao Sucker Punch, it kills the Regieleki. If you think about, you know, Extreme Speed Dragonite or Extreme Speed Choice Band Hisuian-Arcanine, Terra Normal stuff, it kills the Regieleki, right? Where it just makes your speed not so relevant. Transistor got nerfed, okay? So all of a sudden, Regieleki wasn't in such of a great spot. I can't really utilize it, okay? But this is where the secret happens, right? So now Mr. Thiago says, let's take away that option against Regieleki. Now let's add Indeedee, okay? So now all of your priority moves don't matter, okay? And then at the same time, I understand Transistor got nerfed, okay, right? But Magnet is still gonna do a ton of damage, okay? And then I still have the Chien here to compensate the loss of the, you know, the nerf to Transistor, right? So Chien Regieleki is gonna do a ton of damage, and now you have access to something like Electro Web, so now you can get speed control in potential mirror games, right? And it just makes things hit hard, you know, with Electro Web Magnet with Chien on the field. And then all of a sudden, of course, you have Terra Blast, Terra Ice on your Regieleki, which is really good into something like Landorus, for example, which doesn't want to be taking any kind of ice moves whatsoever, right? This idea we kind of knew, okay, but it just made sense, you know, in terms of this. And then finally, you can just round out your team with your last mine, and I believe it was the Urshifu over here, right? Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry, it was the Ogerpon Wellspring. So now, you know, if you just look at this team, right? So you have Helping Hand on the Indeedee, that's gonna make the Regieleki do a ton of damage. You have the Chien here, that's gonna make the Regieleki do a ton of damage. And then you have redirection support with Follow Me over here with the Indeedee, and you don't need Follow Me here because you already have the redirection. So now you can be a little bit more aggressive with the Swords Dance on your Ogerpon Wellspring, okay? And then Horn Leech is gonna give you big recovery, you know, if you even take any damage trying to set up the Swords Dance. So all in all, I think this is fine, okay? It's just a very, very cool team. And, you know, something like Indeedee Tornadus Regieleki is something that we saw a little bit, you know, in Sword and Shield, you know, especially in the Dynamax era. So it's nothing new there. And now all of a sudden you plug in Scarlet and Violet pieces, you know, with Fluttermane, Chien, and Ogerpon, and the team just makes sense. So now by removing the main problem to Regieleki, which was, you know, dying to a priority, you know, with the Indeedee, it's able to help it out a little bit more now. So it gives you terrain control, which is great into Rillaboom, so you deny, you know, Grassy Glide stuff, and just all in all, a really, really solid option here. Now, you might even say, can I put Furgraph here, or maybe even something like with Dazzling ability? I don't know if that's ideal. I think you want the redirection from the Indeedee here, especially. I think it's important. Terra Dragon's also really cool. That'll help you against like Surging Strikes, Urshifu for sure. So that makes sense there. Okay, but all in all, a really, really cool team. It just shows you that a niche pick can go a long way. But really, the Regieleki just supports, in my opinion, the Chiyu fluttermane Tornadus core, right? Just to help it patch up certain matchups, right? It's not really like an Regieleki team. I kind of just see that the Regieleki is more of a thing that we're like, I need something to help me against these Pokemon, and this is what I came up with. I need the Regieleki. So and then even before this, like, Regieleki was somewhat on the rise, just a tiny bit. It was getting top cut results in online limitless tours, and I was gonna make a video on that. I think I'll release that within the next coming days. But this is not the first time that I was seeing Regieleki get some results in a big tour, right? It was coming up in some other online tournaments, and it was just a matter of time before someone figured out like the right team to really utilize it. Okay, because again, Regieleki is not a bad Pokemon by any means. It just needs the right team that can use its tools that it can provide, so that way the team overall just works. All right, so shout outs to Volvo Maxman for making it work. The Indeedee was the secret spice to the team. All right, I can't stress that enough. All right, now as far as like other archetypes that we're gonna look at, we're gonna use the Lab Maus website, which is gonna make things 10 times easier because we get to narrow things down without having to like go one by one on some other websites here. So what I'm able to do here is I can narrow it down to just the top 128 teams. All right, and I can also see like usage just from those 128 teams. So, again, Iron Hands, Flutter, Landorus, for example, and then cutting it off at Chien-Pao here. And here's Ogerpon at 13th place, by the way. Chiyu, and then the other Heart Flame Ogerpon is down there as well. And then I can also see like team compositions, like 4-man team compositions, 5 Pokemon team compositions, and then just flat out 6. Okay, and then what I can do is I can narrow things down. So like if I wanted to look at Roy Moon teams, right, which is exactly what I was doing, just to show you, I can see all the Roy Moon teams in one straight get-go, and then all the way down to 128, right, which is what I narrowed it down to, which makes things a lot easier and much more efficient in terms of looking at certain archetypes, right? And what I'm going to do is just show you what I think are some of the best and most solid and consistent ways of using the Roy Moon archetype. Starting here with Mr. Joshua Lorcy. Officer Lorcy, salutes to you. Big tour for him. All right. And he's been working hard. I know that for a fact. And, you got Roaring Moon here with Fluttermane and the Heatran. So you got your Dragon Fairy Steel Core. So good job there. And then you got your straight up Landorus, Iron Hands, Amoonguss. There's your balanced defensive core. There's your Intimidator. There's your Fake Out Mon. There's your Redirector. Okay. He's following the template that we've given you guys from day one. Okay. It just makes sense. It's solid. It's consistent. It's the acrobatics Roy Moon with Dragon Dance as opposed to Tailwind. Totally fine, of course. And then there's your Terra Flying, without a doubt. Life Orb Heatran is great here, especially with like Flash Cannon. That's going to be hurting and doing a lot of damage. Still Terra Fairy, of course. So that's good there. You don't need the Terra Blast, Terra Fairy. You got your own Fairy type right here. You got Fluttermane here. You don't need another one. Okay. Speaking of Fluttermane, Choice Specs, Perish Song. So this is the third move that, not third move. This is the fourth move that you rarely click. If you're able to pick up a couple KOs, you might even just click this and just end the game right there and just position a little bit. I don't know how often Mr. Lorcy clicked this, but it is an option if you want. And this is Terra Water, Iron Hand, straightforward set. It does have Volt Switch as opposed to Heavy Slam because the Steel move is over here on the Heatran. Totally fine. Okay, and then the Landorus here, standard Choice Scarf set. The only difference here is you got Rock Tomb as opposed to Rock Slide. So a little bit more extra speed control, which can come in handy in certain mirror matchups against other Roy Moon teams or even just against some of the Tailwind stuff. So this way your Fluttermane and your own Roy Moon can outspeed things. But again, you need a Redirector to set up your Dragon Dance. Okay, so this is also really good. So Amoonguss Iron Hands giving you matchups into Chirpcom games. Roaring Moon also really good into Psyspam. I like this a lot. No problems from me. If you needed a Roaring Moon team, just use this 6 and then, just use your own EV spreads, of course. But here's another one from Edu, right? Similar idea. Again, just the only difference here is the Ogerpon as opposed to the Amoonguss being your Redirector. But again, similar idea. Here's the Steel move again on the Iron Hands as opposed to Volt Switch. But still keeping the Flash Cannon on the Heatran. But this is now a Safety Goggles Heatran as opposed to, something like Life Orb or even Assault Vest. Okay, makes sense. And now the Roaring Moon set is the supportive Terra Poison one with Breaking Swipe here. You know, so basically what this is saying is, you know, meta is very, very physical. I want to neutralize as much damage from these hard-hitting, physical attacking Pokemon as possible. And then here's the Landorus again with the Rock Slide as opposed to Rock Tomb. And then here is the fluttermane here. Instead of Parasol, now has Misty Terrain. Okay, so this is interesting because now what you're able to do is stop the sleep shenanigans, stop, you know, the dragons from hitting super hard against your own dragon, I guess. So this is also very, very interesting, but again, makes a lot of sense. So shout out to Edu for, again, sticking within the template and the archetype. Then if we go into Renzo Navarro, so now what we're saying is we're going to defer from the Landers and we'll use the other archetype, which is Moon, Arcanine, and Goldengo. We talked about this in our other video. This is a good starting core because again, you get your Intimidator and you get another Steel type here. And this is your Fairy type, right? Because this is Terra Fairy, Terra Blast. So here's your Fairy type, okay? But all Roaring Moon teams, they need Intimidate because your physical defense isn't all that good. You still have Breaking Swipe here, so you're still keeping that idea. And then this is Metal Coat, make it rain, Shadow Ball, Nasty Ball. No leftovers here, so we're just going for straight Steel damage here. Because even if you're -1, for example, right? Metal Coat is still gonna help you do a decent amount of damage. It's kind of compensating, right? It's almost like it's a neutral hit even at -1, so that's still fine. And then here's the Ogerpon with Defiance. So this is pretty cool. This is the regular Ogerpon, right? So you still have your Fire Water Grass core here, okay? The only thing now is you have a nice little speed boost, you know, because this is the Grass Ogerpon. And then you have the ground coverage here with Stomping Tantrum, which you don't have anymore because there's no Landorus, but you still get it here with the Ogerpon. And this is with the Razor Claw variant, of course, trying to get some big crits going on. And then at the same time, you know, Defiant, which is going to help the Roaring Moon, the Arcanine, and the Iron Hands a little bit, right? Because now you're going to give this thing an attack boost while it's going to be having a speed boost if you want to bring your own Intimidate Mon. So that's a good call by Renzo over here. And then Urshifu Rapid Strike, you know, just a standard Urshifu set with Terra Poison. So, you know, makes a lot of sense here. But really, really cool idea again from Renzo for using the Ogerpon here. And then we'll go over here to Dylan. Okay, so this is the Roaring Moon Milotic stuff, which is what we used a little bit earlier in the Regulation E format, but still good even now. This is still kind of borrowing this idea of Defiance / putting a competitive mon with Roaring Moon. You could either do something like King Gambit as well. But again, here's the Roaring Moon, here's the Milotic, here's the Rillaboom and Arcanine. So you still have this Fire Water Grass core going for you here. And again, it's just like, you know, plugging in your cores, but still the archetype is still, you know, right there. And Breaking Swipe, Roaring Moon yet again. So you see how Roaring Moon sets are changing, right? Whereas it used to be just straight up like this, what Lorsu was doing with like Acrobatics, Terra Blast, not Terra Blast, Acrobatics, Terra Flying, but now you see a lot more Breaking Swipe stuff, which is expected, okay? And now here's an actual attack move from Fluttermane. This is Psyshock, okay? So this is gonna do a good amount of damage. You can even see Power Gem come on to Fluttermane's, depending on the set and the player, but we've seen different fourth moves for the Fluttermane on these Roaring Moon teams, but still makes sense. Here's your Terra Blast, Terra Fairy, Arcanine, but interesting that they kept it here because you still have your Fairy type here, but again, still makes sense. The only thing is now you don't have your Steel type, okay? So no Goldengo here, but that's still okay, right? Yeah, it's not like imperative, right? It's just, you still get your Fire Water Grass core going here, but double Fake Out, that's one thing to note. And because the Assault Vest is here, now the Rillaboom can go a little bit more aggressive with the Miracle Seed. Okay, you probably need a little bit less attack investment, maybe just a little bit more bulk. But, you know, that all depends on how Dylan decided to run this Rillaboom set. But Miracle Seed is going to do a lot of damage for sure. That was like an old Sword and Shield item as well. And then Haze. So, you know, it's good for Dondozo, good for, you know, other setups in general. Good for wiping out your own Intimidates. Okay, so that's also really nice. And then, of course, the ever so lucky Scald Burns is going to be great, as well as Ice Beam into Landorus. They don't want to be taking that. But yeah, again, lots of different ways to utilize this successful Roaring Moon Balance archetype. And I just picked out what I thought were the best 4 from the tour. So if you want a Roaring Moon team, just use any of these. Okay, let's look at some of the Tailwind Hyper Offensive cores. And a lot of these teams, you know, it's just going to be Tornadus, slap on your Fire Water Grass core with Arcanine, Urshifu, Rillaboom, or even one of the Ogerpons. Goldango comes, and then after that, it's just like a flex slot. So here, let's look at David Rodriguez's team, and actually he has that, but he actually has both Goldango and fluttermane, which is a little bit rare, you know, a little bit uncommon. You usually don't see both, but you got both here, right? Because you're already strong physically, so you might as well just slap on a fluttermane on this, you know, might as well, right? Then over here for Victor Medina, this is a little bit more traditional, right? Of course, the Tornadus with the Arcanine, Rillaboom, and then here's Flutter and Chien-Pao, right? As opposed to the Goldango and the other one. Again, Chien-Pao just makes everything here hit harder, of course, because you have a bunch of priority Pokemon, and then the fluttermane, you know, with booster energy, with protect, is always really, really nice. And then here's Taunt, Tailwind, Rain Dance. Then Joe's going with the Regidrago idea. So again, Tornadus, Arcanine, Rillaboom, slap on the Regidrago, and then here, well, slap on the Goldango, and here's your flex slot, Regidrago, right? Which makes sense. Again, like you're saying, I want to rely on Dragon Energy and make it rain, and there's not a lot of switching for it, okay? Especially, you know, with this a ton of pressure here. And then you got Fake Out, you have Intimidate, okay? And then you have Speed Control here with Bleak Wind Storm, Rain Dance, okay? Making your Urshifu hit a ton harder, okay? It just makes sense overall. You know, I like it a lot, very standard. Sometimes you'll see Furgraph on teams like this, but Joe says, you know what, I don't need that thing. I'm just going with my balanced stuff. Then over here, from Martine, so now we have a little bit more of a defensive backbone here. So we saw this earlier, but here's Amoonguss, here's Iron Hands, no Landers here, but instead you have King Gambit, you know, with Swords Dance, Sucker Punch, and then here's the Ogerpon with the Urshifu, right? So here's your Fire, Water, Grass Core in that sense. Okay, here's your Amoonguss for your Trick Room matchup, and then here's your King Gambit for your Psyspam matchup. So I guess this kind of works. And then over here, you have the double Genie idea with Tornadus and Landorus, okay, supplied with Chien-Pao and then Amoonguss, right? That's your core in my opinion. Then you have the Urshifu, and then the Goldango just rounds things out, right? Goldango, Amoonguss is just really, really good, of course. But, you know, lots of different ways to try and utilize Tornadus offense, but you can see a lot of the similar cores, right? I feel like you always have to bring Tornadus, Urshifu, okay? And then from there, you know, do you want the Arcanine? Sure, okay? And then from there, do you want Rillaboom or an Ogerpon? And then from there, do you want Chien-Pao / fluttermane, right? It's just all about the pieces being recycled, but the core of the team remains the same. All right, how about Psyspam stuff? So if we just scroll down here and if we put in Armarouge, within the top 128, only 5 Psyspam teams, which is interesting. And I'm specifically talking about Armarouge here. So let's look at the 10th place one from Daniel, I should say. And it has Roaring Moon here, right? Which makes sense, right? You got Indeedee, Armarouge, Torkoal, Ursaluna. There's your starting 4. And then Roaring Moon just benefits from Torkoal photosynthesis altogether. This is Earthquake Roaring Moon. Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, and it kind of makes sense here, I guess. You know, you have Bronzong here with Power Bracer. This is the this is the spice over here. I want to use this team. It's got Body Press, Skill Swap, Trick Room, and then Iron Defense. So Iron Defense, Body Press. Okay, Skill Swap, Trick Room. Oh my goodness. Okay. And then this is Specs Torkoal. Okay, and then you still have Tailwind on your Roaring Moon. So like, you can still have the Armarouge outspeed a lot of different things. And this is Weak Armor Armarouge. Okay, so look out for that. But this is also Shadow Claw Ursaluna. But yeah, I really like this team. This is actually a really, really cool idea. And then from there, if you just click the next 2 teams, these are like a little bit more standard, right? You got the Lily Cole stuff with Indeedee, Armarouge, and then here's the Power Band Urshifu. So we got a lot of power stuff going on here. And then the Fluttermane with Choice Specs also benefits from the photosynthesis, just like Torkoal with the Roaring Moon. So again, similar ideas, but you know, some different choices here. You know, again with the Lilligant giving you a stronger fast move with Sleep Powder shenanigans. And then from here, if we go down to the next one, again, it's still another Lilycole stuff, but this is Skill Swap Indeedee, and then you have the Rock Ogerpon, right, with Encore, okay, and you still get Ursaluna over here. So Indeedee, Armarouge, Torkoal, Ursaluna, and then Lilligant here, and then here's your flex slot. No Roaring Moon, no Fluttermane. Instead, we're going with the Rock Ogerpon here with Encore here, along with Skill Swap Indeedee, Thousand Game Terra Fairy, Charcoal Protect Torkoal here. So, you know, interesting stuff. And then finally over here, you got the Sneasler Indeedee combination with Swords Dance Sneasler. Okay. And then now you have Roaring Moon and Fluttermane on the same team, but no Torkoal. I guess not needed. But you still have Tailwind here, so the Armarouge can still function here. And this is still the weak armor stuff. And then here's your Choice Scarf Urshifu. So again, you still have like a little bit of a fast mode here with Roaring Moon, Tailwind, Urshifu, Fluttermane, and the Armarouge. And then you just look at this. Like there's not really a Trick Room team. This is like, Trick Room with Tailwind kind of idea. And this is like Endure Armarouge with stored power. All right, so this is some interesting tech here. Okay, but not too much Psyspam in this one, right? At least not in the top 128. So, a lot of people had Roaring Moons. So Chien-Paos, King Gambits, ideally, but Psyspam did have more success overseas, where we are, but in the LAIC, not so much. But you still had a couple of them within the top 128. All right, back to Lab Maus. So now let's take a look at some Dondozo teams. Let's see how many of them were within the top 128. So similar to Psyspam, just a little bit, right? 5-6 teams. And from what I'm looking at, it's either you have Glimmora or you don't have Glimmora. So let's look at this one from Alex Gomez. And this was an interesting team, right? Just because of some of the mons here. It's Salamence, Fluttermane, Heatran with Rillaboom, a said water type, which is Dondozo without Tatsugiri, and then Urshifu. We kind of had a similar core back in regulationE with Salamence. We had a bulky rocky helmet set with Roost and Tailwind. Now, that set was a physical set, but this one is a special set with Draco Meteor and Earth Slash, right? And it's a rocky helmet set. So I like this. It's a bulky special Salamence, so you don't have to suffer from Intimidate. And then this is Magma Storm Heatran, along with Rillaboom and then Dondozo. So you still have your Fire Water Grass core coming here. And then of course, Dondozo without Tatsugiris always have this Heavy Slam Yawn set, okay? I've actually been seeing this team, in the online tours in Limitless. So this is not a surprise, okay? I like it, okay? I'm just saying, like, I've seen this before. Now, Magma Storm and Yawn is quite the combination here because, when you click Yawn, things want to switch out, so this way they don't want to be taking sleep turns, okay, which you can catch off guard with Magma Storm, right? And now all of a sudden they're kind of trapped, okay, and then you put it to sleep, so like now you're sleeping and now you're taking Magma Storm damage, which is very, very detrimental in that sense. And then you have Urshifu, Rillaboom stuff, okay? So now if you trap things and now you want to switch out against Urshifu, now you can't, so good luck with that. And then at the same time you still have your speed control with Tailwind, okay? And then here's your Perish Song from Fluttermane if you ever need to click that button. But Dondozo being a support option here with Oblivious, okay, is really, really good. So you don't really care about Intimidate. So that's really, really nice. And I like this team. This is actually really, really cool. And you've seen this, I think 3 people ran this actually. So Juan also over here, Mr. Juan Sarleno. I don't know if this is the same team. No, it's not. So this one has Power Gem as opposed to the Perish Song. You still have Safety Goggles Magma Storm. Is this one? Oh no, this is Citrus Berry. All right, so there's the 2 differences in the set. But same Salamence, same Urshifu, Rillaboom, Hammer, Glide, Horsepower. Is this the same over here? Yes, it is. Terra Ghost though. So this one had Terra Fire. This one is Terra Ghost Rillaboom. That's interesting. I'm not sure why this is Terra Ghost though. And I don't know, like, what is it? Fake out pressure, worried about something like that? I don't know. Maybe the extreme speed from Dragonites or maybe from Arcanines. I don't know. I'm not quite sure about that, but there must be a reason. I just don't know it. And then what else? There was a third one, a third variation down here, right here, from Joaquin. Is this the same idea? All right, so let's see. So here's the Safety Goggles idea, and here's the Power Gem. So this is pretty much the same thing. This is Terra Grass Dondozo, by the way. Alex had Terra Poison, so that's also interesting. But again, that's the Salamence, Dondozo, Yawn variants. What about the Glimmora Ninetales variant, which is one of our rentals, but some differences, of course. Ability Shield Tatsugiri as opposed to the Choice Scarf, which is what we like to use. But this is AV Glimmora. That's our preferred Glimmora as opposed to Sash. And then here's Order of Earthquake Sub. There's a Dragonite here. That's pretty interesting, right? But it makes sense, right? Because you have Chien-Pao here. So this is almost like 2-2-2 Dondozo, right? Chien-Pao Dragonite, Dondozo Tatsugiri, Glimmora, Ninetales. I can kind of understand it. Okay, and then if we look at the other Glimmora variants, right, here's this one. This one has the Iron Hands, and this one is the Tatsugiri Ability Shield, and this is the Focus Sash one. This is Quick Attack Ogerpon. I don't think I've ever seen that, right? But I guess it makes sense when you're +1. This reminds me of Zacian clicking Quick Attack when it seldomly ran it in Sword and Shield. And then the last one down here, this one looks like this one has Chi-Yu, by the way. So Chi-Yu along with Glomora and Ninetales. Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. I think this was done in like Reg C a little bit. But, and here's the Choice Scarf Tatsugiri. So, you know, the Dondozo teams, not too much, but hey, 6 results within top 128. So it's still around a little bit. All right, how about the Blood Moon Ursaluna teams with Dusclops, right? So let's take a look here. So here's the highest placing one at 48th from Dorian. So here we go. Nightshade, Willow's, Pain Split, Trick Room. Okay, sure. And then this is Sashi with Snarl, Iron Hands, Blood Moon. So this is a Life Orb one, which means no Brick Break, which is fine because now you can afford something like Nightshade here as opposed to Brick Break, so that's totally fine. And here's the Ogerpon, the Rock one, as opposed to the Water one to help support the Landers and Chi-Yu, which is still okay, right? Ivy Cudgel, Power Whip, okay? And then Follow Me, that's fine, okay? So it's actually relatively standard. It's still following like more or less the same conventions, right? You have a Redirector, and then you have a Trick Room setter with the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Here's the Chi-Yu to make the Blood Moon do even more damage. All right, this is also good into the Psyspam stuff. Here's the Iron Hands for Fake Out Pressure. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Now, if we look at the other one, 124th place, this one is the more standard one, but still you have this Life Orb Blood Moon Ursaluna, which means here's the Nightshade as opposed to the Brick Break. Here's the Chi-Yu Choice Specs variant with Iron Hands, and then here's the Ogerpon, right? It still makes sense. Still very, very good. Okay, how about this one at 92nd? Here's Dragonite Chien-Pao with Dusclops, Blood Moon Ursaluna, and here's the Wellspring, okay, with the Iron Hands. So now what we're saying is here we have the Brick Break back, so now we're going to activate the Weakness Policy, which is totally fine, I guess. It's also really good at breaking screens, you know, from Ninetales or Grimmsnarl, and then you just have like a secondary mode here with Dragonite Chien-Pao, and then Iron Hands is just the glue, you know, just to get a Fake Out mod, something else in Trick Room, of course. Physical attacker in Trick Room, you know, makes sense. What about this one? This one has a Oranguru here. Let's take a look at this one. So this is Oranguru with Inner Focus, with Instruct, no Torkoal, but instead we have Blood Moon here. And I would imagine it's just Instruct with Throat Spray, Hyper Voice shenanigans. Yep, makes sense. And here's the Paragraph to deny Trick Room. I'm sorry, to deny, well, all can deny Trick Room, but deny priority moves against the Trick Room team that we have here. Misty Terrain Fluttermane, that's a second Misty Terrain Fluttermane here. The other one being the Choice Specs variant. Okay, and then Ogerpon and the bundle here. You get a little Firewater Grass Core here coming along. Right, somewhat of a fast mode, a little bit. Okay, still makes sense, not too bad. And then right here from Kyle, this is one of the other ones. And again, this one has an Amoonguss now, as opposed to the Ogerpon. Still, again, the similar idea with a Life Orb Blood Moon with a Nightshade Dusclops here. And then this is Goggles Chi-Yu, this is Scarf Landorus, here's the Iron Hands yet again. Still similar conventions, okay? And let's look at this last one down here. This one has Iron Hands, Paragraph, and the Blood Moon. This is kind of the way I like to play it, right? With Iron Hands and Paragraph, I like these. This one has Uproar Paragraph, oh my goodness. All right, and then this is Lash Out Chien-Pao here, okay. I respect it, and here's that Ogerpon Rock one again. But no Dusclops here. This one is just Ursaluna, but no Dusclops. But you have Paragraph here, so it still counts. All right, so all in all, yeah, you had a little bit of a showcase of Blood Moon, but kind of like Dondozo and the Psyspam teams, you know, you get a little bit, so it's still like somewhat relevant, but it just didn't have the strong result as some of the other archetypes, but still good. Okay, Pao Knight had a pretty good run, right? This is about, actually I just looked at Dragonite and we got about like 9 or 10 teams here. But I'm just going to take a look at 2 of them, you know, just because I think these are the 2 best ones. But let's look at Riley's first. So this one has been Riley's team, you know, for a while now. You know, he's been using this. Okay, here's Dragonite, here's Chien-Pao. Then there's the King Gambit, right? And I do like King Gambit on teams like this just because it just gives you something to be able to also take advantage with Chien-Pao. Your Double Dark is very, very nice here. Okay, and then, you know, you're just clicking Sucker Punches, you know, boosted by Chien-Pao. Just hitting so hard here with Black Glasses. And then Kowtow Cleave, of course. Then here's the Amoonguss, Terra Water, Clear Smog, and Grass Knot. Okay, and then, of course, this is the AV Dragonite set with Aerial Ace and Thunder Punch. Okay, and then the Ogerpon here has Follow Me. I almost said Fire Me. Follow Me. Okay, so you get your redirection support here. And then you actually have two redirectors. You have Amoonguss here, and then you have the Ogerpon here, okay, which is still fine, okay. Then the other one is the Heatran Farigiraf variant, and I think I saw it down here somewhere. Yeah, right here. There was actually a few of them. Actually, a lot of them were using more or less the same idea, right? No, it was just two of them. But this is the Rinya, right? The Rinya variant with Heatran and Farigiraf. So basically, again, you have your own priority boys, and then now you have Farigiraf here to deny priority against your priority, and also to stop Trick Room stuff. And then Helping Hand Farigiraf is just going to help make everything do a ton more damage. And then here's that Assault Vest Heatran variant, you know, with Flash Cannon, Earth Power, and Heat Wave, and then Terra Blast, Terra Fairy. But again, Pao Knight along with there's Choice Scarf Urshifu. This is the other variant of Dragonite that I think is really, really good. So if you really want to pick up a Dragonite Chien-Pao team, I think this variant is the best one at the given moment. Okay, and then finally, let's take a look at Baxcalibur here. And I think the best Baxcalibur team is the one that has been getting the most solid, consistent results, you know, within the online tours. And it's this one down here. And I just want to think, is there another one? Yeah, they're more or less the same one. Let's just click the first one. So basically, so this is added to, so it revolves around Ninetales Baxcalibur idea, right? With the Aurora Veil, having Baxcalibur get a nice little defense boost, and then, you know, just Icicle Spear, Swords Dance, and Scale Shot, and then you have the Ogerpon supporting the Landorus and the Heatran, right? So you have a Dragon Fairy Steel core here, along with a Fire Water Grass core here with Heatran substitute, along with the Ogerpon idea. Is this my team? I think we use something like this. All right, and then here's the Landorus, and then here's the... Oh, no, this is Terra Steel Iron Hands. Okay, so that's going to resist the fluttermane stuff. Okay, that's pretty cool. But you're still weak to the ground stuff, so that's I guess that's still okay. All right, but, you know, again, this is the 6 that I would choose if I had to do, like, a Baxcalibur Ninetales kind of thing. You know, they didn't get too much results, but it's still there, right? You know, I'm sure if you go down past 128, you'll find a few more. But I just went like up to the 128. But, you know, it's still a threat. I like Bax Balance a lot. I think Ninetales is a good Pokemon in regulationE, especially when you have this Landorus Heatran core, which is arguably my favorite core to use in regulationE. And then you just slap on stuff like Iron Hands and Ogerpon Wellspring with Redirection and Fake Out Pressure to help you set up the Baxcalibur stuff. And then arguably you can even swap out the Baxcalibur and use Roaring there, right? You know, just depends on what dragon you want to use, but I think, you know, more or less some of the same ideas still apply. Alright, so now for this part of the video, I want to take a look at some niche Pokemon, because, you know, we love niche Pokemon on the channel, right? That's what we used to have our bread and butter on, alright, and still do a little bit. But let's take a look at Brambleghast. So Brambleghast had a little bit of a show, and we saw it a little bit in regulationD, and then not too much after that. But it's nice to see it being used here at a big turn like this in Reg E. So we had Beck, Ding, and of course Casty using Brambleghast. So let's look at Beck here. Let's see what he had here. So it's basically Focus Sash Brambleghast with Power Whip, Poltergeist, Shadow Sneak, Strength Set, very standard here. And then here's the Life Orb Chiyu with the Booster Energy Fluttermane. So that makes sense. And then of course here's the here's the Urshifu with the Goldango here, and then along with Tornadus with Taunt and Sunny Day. So, you know, Wind Rider is a pretty cool ability. Of course, here's your Tailwind. And then, you know, Chiyu, Fluttermane, they both get enabled by Sunny Day, of course. Very familiar idea. And then here's your Goldango with Choice Specs with Thunderbolt, okay? Steel Beam, too. Oh, my goodness. Okay, Steel Beam. And then Brambleghast, again, with Strength Sap. You know, just think of, like, Sinistra also going for Strength Sap stuff. And then Poltergeist is just hitting really, really hard. And then the Priority Shadow Sneak is always really, really nice. So this is a pretty cool Brambleghast team. I think, did Ding have the same 6? No, he didn't. He had a Iron Bundle over here. And then here's the Landorus. Here's another niche pick, okay, with the Landorus. Sandsear Storm, which probably means Rain Dance. Yep, that's exactly what he has here. So Rain Dance, Tornadus with Sandsear Storm. So double Genie idea. This makes a lot of sense. Very, very hard hitting Sandsear Storm and Rain Dance, right? And then that also enables the Urshifu, so this makes sense too. And then Iron Bundle can also hit relatively hard with the Rain Dance with Hydro Pump if you hit. Choice Specs Goldango with Trick, that's going to help you with Trick Room stuff, of course. And then the Brambleghast, similar set here with the Focus Sash. But still, again, a lot of cool pieces here from Ding, especially the Landorus Eye, which has picked up in recent play, you know, just because of how good it is in terms of its coverage. Because, you know, the ground coverage, like Earth Power, is really good into Heatran and Arcanine. But then if they want to go Terra Fairy, now you have a strong poison move. You know, Terra Poison Sludge Bomb is just going to one-shot that thing. Okay, so that's also really, really good. Makes a lot of sense. And then over here from Casty, I believe he was using Roaring Moon here with Arcanine. Yep, he was. And then here's that familiar core with Roaring Moon, Arcanine, and the Goldango. Life Orb Goldango, might I add. But then he also has Weezing here. Okay, so Weezing also was one of our niche picks, which we'll talk about in a bit. But here's the Brambleghast, but is there Tailwind? Yeah, there is. There is the Tailwind user. So the Roaring Moon is your quote-unquote Tailwind mon. And then here's the Urshifu over here. So again, similar ideas, just like, you know, different Tailwind user. But then here's the Weezing. So it's kind of like a couple of team ideas slapped onto one. Here's your Roaring Moon Weezing art type. But then you have Roaring Moon Arcanine Goldango as another one. Okay, so makes a lot of sense. I like Cassie's team. It's pretty cool. Okay, next I also want to look at Clefairy here, and Clefairy has been an interesting support Pokemon in this format because it can do a lot, right? And it was mainly used with the what's that other dragon that with Sinistcha? Kamo, right? You know, just to be able to provide a little bit more additional bulk, but outside of that, not too much until recently. Now that it's supporting this Roaring Moon Arcanine Goldango core, and that's pretty much where you start. So again, here's that familiar core, right, with Roaring Moon, Arcanine, Goldango. Now you slap on Clefairy, and now all of a sudden you have a Friend Guard that can help you set up your nasty plot, okay, redirect a lot of those super effective moves away from Goldango and or Roaring Moon into the Clefairy. Okay, you got a little speed control with Icy Wind, right, so that's pretty cool. Okay, Helping Hand is going to help Goldango hit super hard. And then here's your Fire, Water, Grass core with Arcanine, Rillaboom, and Urshifu. So this is actually a really cool team. You get all your cores here in one, and then you have a Redirector and Damage Mitigator with Clefairy. So it makes a lot of sense there, okay, to see it used. And I think the Daniel's team is also the same one that we looked at earlier. Hans is this one. Okay, this one's a little bit different, so let's look at this one. Here's the Ogre Pawn. Okay, here's King Gambit. But again, Clefairy King Gambit is also pretty good. Just because you can redirect the super effective fighting moves away from the King Gambit into the Clefairy, which is a fairy type. And then Life Dew just has you, you know, healing over time. So no attack Clefairy, which has been a thing. Okay, and then you have Fluttermane with Charm. So there's that Forts move again with the choice spec. So now we see Charm. Okay, Iron Hands, Landorus, not Amoonguss but Clefairy. So again, Intimidate, Fake Out, Pressure. And then here's another redirector with Ogre Pawn here. So, you know, pretty cool idea. But again, Clefairy has been used here. And here's another one with Screamtail also. Screamtail was another one that was a niche pick. But here's Screamtail here with Power Weight Howl. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's going to boost, well, not only itself, but also Urshifu and the Ursaluna here. And then here's the final Gambit stuff with Trick Room, of course. And then paired with Fergraph. You know, you can't click Fake Out, of course. So that's going to be really, really useful. And then you just click Trick Room, get into your Ursaluna, and start dominating, really. But here's another redirector to help you also set up said Trick Room. All right, so that's really cool. And then here's the Heal Pulse. So that'll heal your own Ursaluna over here. So that's pretty cool. But again, Clefairy, really, really cool Pokemon to use. I think the Roaring Moon variant is still very, very strong. I still think Sinistcha and, of course, the Kamo is still a very, very good idea as well. But nice to see Clefairy get a little bit of usage here. Okay, I also wanted to look at, you know, the Sinistcha screens idea, also with Galarian and Moltres, right? Which also had, you know, like a decent showcase here in LAIC. So it revolves around these four. So you set up screens, the Moltres enjoys the screens, you can double dip into Berserk because you're not taking so much damage. You have the Citrus Berry for recovery, and now you have the Sinistcha here that can give you speed control and it can give you recovery, which also Arcanine very much appreciates. Now the other thing is, what do you have in your last two slots? So if we take a look at the Lab Maus website, so let's look at Sinistcha, okay? And it actually had a pretty good showing, right? And pretty interesting, right? So actually, Sinistcha, there we go. Okay, so there's Sinistcha. All right, so a little bit. So Paul Rue's team, he had Volcarona and the King Gambit, which is something that we've done ourselves, right? When we had that team with Keanu. Volcarona always very much needs an Intimidator, right? Because your physical defense isn't all that great. There's that Flamethrower that we like. And then here's the King Gambit, you know, helps you, you know, deter other Intimidate users. And then here's the Sinistcha, providing Trick Room and Matcha Gotcha support. Here's the Chien-Pao with King Gambit idea, so this is a pretty cool team. I like that. But here's the one that I was looking at. Here's Arthur's team. So here's that Moltres Grimmsnarl idea with Arcanine and the Sinistcha. And then he says, you know what? I already got Arcanine. Let's just round it out with a Fire Water Grass Core. Let's put Rillaboom here. Let's put Urshifu and call it a day. Sounds good to me, Arthur, right? So, you know, again, you got an Intimidator. Raging Fury, I just noticed that. Okay, you got an Intimidator. You got a Fake Out Mod. You get Redirection here. You get Healing here with Life Dew and Hospitality. Moltres loves this. Okay, and then you get the Urshifu here. All right, really, really cool idea. And then here's Grimmsnarl with Fake Out as well. So you get double Fake Out Pokemon here. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess it's still good. Like, I'm just thinking, like, do you want Parting Shot here or even like Thunder Wave? Fake Out is totally fine. I think it's good. So I really like this idea with Moltres. So maybe we'll try that ourselves. But here's one with Roaring Moon, along with Grimmsnarl and Alolan Ninetales. Now this is something that I was a little bit shocked, right? Because you almost never see Grimmsnarl and Ninetales on the same team. But this is Nails we're talking about here. So I'm not one to go against Nails here. But here is that Dragon Fairy Steel Core that we've always been featuring, right? And then now you have the Sinistcha here, along with the Roaring Moon and or Baxcalibur for that matter. And this is a Calm Mind Sinistcha set, which makes sense. Otherwise, the team is a little bit too passive, right? So, you know, maybe this is just like setting up this. This was used in the previous regional. I remember it had a top cut result. I just don't remember if Grimmsnarl and Ninetales were on the same team. I don't think so. But it makes sense to have screens and then a Calm Mind user like Sinistcha. I guess you kind of borrowed that idea. And then here's the Matcha Gotcha, of course. Really, really hard hitting Matcha Gotcha. But, you know, Sinistcha screens, I feel like is a very, very good archetype. It just depends. Do you want the Moltres idea or do you want to take a different direction? And this one, you know, from Matt, he says, you know, I don't need either. Okay, I've got Arcanine here. I've got Rillaboom and Ursh. Cool. I'm going to go with Heatran here as well. So another thing that you don't see all that often is Arcanine and the Heatran. Again, two very different Pokemon. One's a physical, one's a special attacker, one has Intimidate, one doesn't. But it's still rare to see like double up on your fire types here. And then here's your Sinistcha here. Here's Milotic too. This is actually not the Water Shoe. This is a single target one. So again, still kind of makes sense here. Helping Hand Milotic is actually pretty cool. But again, I still like this idea. You know, either Moltres or Roaring Moon here with screen support with Sinistcha. I think you want a Steel type here in general. But again, Rillaboom and Urshifu would just still totally work here. All right, let's round it out here. You got what I think is the coolest team of the tournament, and that is this Galarian Articuno team, right? You almost forget that Galarian Articuno is in the game, but here it is. Indeedee, no Armor Rouge, right? But you know, you get Psyshock, Shadow Ball, Terra Blast, and Trick Room. And again, this was a 79th place team. This is still within there. You still get Gallade over here, okay? And there's Torkoal, you know, clicking Eruption, of course. Chi-Yu with Room Service and Burning Jealousy. Oh my goodness, what is this? I like this. Okay, it's Psyshock, Shadow Ball, Terra Blast, and Trick Room. And you know, Articuno also gets access to Tailwind too, right? But again, competitive user, also pretty good here. I like it. You know, if only we could use Expanding Force on this day, man. Hey, they dropped the ball on us. But here we go, Landorus here. You know, Stone Edge. Oh my goodness. All right, the whole team is something that is kind of crazy here. But again, skill swap makes sense here. I like this. And again, Clear Smog, Torkoal, that's going to be good at removing, you know, stuff like Dondozo buffs or setup play. Taunt Chi-Yu with Room Service. This is a team. I want this rental. Diego, if you're watching, I need this rental. I want to play this for a video, but it's a really, really cool team. But overall, that's pretty much it. So in the grand scheme of things, if we just go back to, I guess, the Victory Road website, like for the most part, Tailwind offense is dominating, okay? Then you got the Roaring Moon balance stuff. I think, you know, it just in a close second place there. And then from there, it's just a matter of like, okay, do you want to play, you know, Blood Moon Ursaluna? Sure. Do you want to play stuff like Dragonite Chien-Pao? Okay. Do you want to play Psyspam? You know, these are all like B+, A- art types behind the top two, right? So that was the story. I felt like that was the thing in LAIC. And again, it's just, again, painting the picture moving forward as we head into San Antonio, which I believe is the next North American regionals. So that's going to do it for now, folks. And again, if you need coaching and if you're trying to take a team into a mid-season challenge or a premier challenge, okay, we've been very good at creating teams during coaching for our viewers, right? That are tier 3 subscribers. They've been getting CP results at these tournaments, which is great, right? That's what we want. We want people to succeed. So if you need some help and you need to book a session, feel free to do it. If you look in the video description below, we have the link to the tier 3 channel, as well as in the comment section, there's also the same tier 3 link if you want to join the channel for some coaching help. And again, once you do sign up, you can message me on Discord. You can join the Discord, okay? You can, and then from there we plan out a common time that we can meet, and we can create the team from scratch, show you how to do all the EV spreads and whatnot, and get you the squad that you want and need to be able to compete in some of these tours. All right, but that's gonna do it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.